It's a big fight. Not only do I think it's the biggest fight of the year, but, when people are tuning in, they're witnessing history. There's never been an undisputed super middleweight, and come November 6th, it'll have its first crown ever, and his name is Caleb Plant.
For the millions across the globe watching on OSP TV, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
OSP TV, episode 11. That's a double numero uno. Can we say numero uno?
We say triple A.
Well, that works then. Welcome, OSP TV. Here we are, episode 11. And what an episode we got today. All right, joining us shortly on the call. Actually, before we introduce our special guest, I'm sorry I got so carried away. My apologies, OG. I have to introduce the co-host, the navigator, the one, the only, the OG Woods, Dustin Woods.
If it was any other guest, I would probably be offended. But today, it's okay to jump ahead.
Man, I got excited. The whole boxing world's talking about this. The whole combat sports world is talking about this. It is going to be the biggest fight, I think, of not only of the year, but very arguably of the decade. And the reason why is it'll be the first ever unified super middleweight champion in the history of boxing. And joining us shortly here via Zoom on OSP TV is the one and only undefeated IBF world champion, Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. He's going to be joining us from his training camp in Las Vegas, Nevada. He carved out some time out of his day. Very fortunate to have him on the show, and very proud to say we represent Caleb. And we're looking forward to a huge win on November 6th.
It's going down.
Okay, so what's your prediction before the champ gets on?
My sports intuition, my bank account says it's going to be just win, baby. But if I had to guess, I would say by decision.
Caleb by decision.
100%.
You ready for this, OG? Mm-hmm. Caleb stops Canelo.
Hey, I mean, you're 7 for 9, 6 for 8 in picks.
Yep. And I'll tell you why I think that. It sounds crazy. A
little bit.
Okay. When we were on the Mike Tyson podcast, hot boxing podcast, they thought I was crazy. Caleb Plant's going to outbox Canelo Alvarez, Mike.
No.
Maybe
the first couple rounds, maybe.
For 12 rounds, Canelo is going to get outboxed by Caleb Plant. I said it on Hot Boxing.
Let's look at Caleb Plant. Let's look at this.
Henry thought I was crazy. Mike thought I was crazy. But what nobody knows is what Caleb Plant is made of. Now, his boxing skill, his ring IQ, his experience may not be that of Canelo's caliber. But what he will make up for that is going to be his grit. What he's going to make up with that for is going to be his determination. The story of his daughter, and I've used it before, and I don't want to keep nailing it, but it's such a driving force in his life. 19 months old, he buried his daughter, which no parent wants to go through. And every time I even think about it, man, it just gives me goosebumps.
Well, I think if you watched All Access and you didn't know who Caleb Plant was, when you watch that portion of it, it's impossible to not become a fan.
You know what he told me? He said, what a lot of people don't know is when I buried my daughter in that grave, and man, this gives me goosebumps and I tear up every single time I think about it. He goes, I buried another grave next to her, and that was for me. I've already died, when I buried her. This boxing thing is for me to fulfill that promise that I gave her and to keep going for, building his legacy. I remember after he beat Utkazaki and he won the world title, he went back. The first thing he did is he went back to Tennessee, to her grave, and he put his belt on her gravesite, and he said, I fulfilled my promise to you. Just amazing story. It's just an amazing story, and he's an amazing person. Great heart. Great, intuition, boxing IQ. He's a funny guy. He's a nice kid. He really is a nice kid. I say kid because he's so much younger than I am.
I think people are starting to see how witty he is. Oh. Like when you're around him in person, he's very good with one-liners. But I think the world is getting to see that now.
Yeah. And look, even at the Canelo press conference, he's very well spoken.
Oh, that speech, the believable, unbelievable thing, that was fire.
Yeah. And one time they asked him about two guys in his weight class that were fighting each other. It was David Benavidez and Anthony Durrell, and they said, "Who do you think's going to win?" He goes, "Man, I think they're both going to lose." Like, he just says funny stuff all the time, and he doesn't think about it; it just comes out of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, he got me in L.A. When you asked,
That's right.
He forgot the shirt, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't have ladies small."
But yeah, no, the whole Caleb Plant story. So when I met him probably 6 years ago or so, I was still fighting. We were training in the gym together, and we started talking, and he introduced himself, and hey, I'm Caleb, and I say, "Hey, I'm Aaron, nice to meet you," blah, blah, blah. We started talking, we started taking into a story, and man, I started tearing up because my daughter, so it had to have been 5 years ago. My daughter was the same age as his daughter when she passed away, and his daughter's name is Aaliyah, and my daughter's name is Aliyah, so it just hit me so hard, you know. I told him back then, and I say it today, and I told every PR person this is the most marketable guy in boxing. This is the most marketable guy in boxing. I mean, his story's great. He can talk like you said. He's good looking, and he's white.
That's how you introduced him to me. Let me introduce you to this guy. We were at the Nevada. You go, "This is the last great white boxer there is."
I mean, look. So you got now the heavyweight king, Tyson Fury, is reigning on the division. But, you know, when I think white, I don't think like UK white.
Yeah, UK doesn't really count.
Right, UK means he's English.
Yeah.
It's an English fighter. But white, I'm talking about an American white boy.
SWGs.
SWG. Caleb Plant is it. And the boy can fight.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. Do you think Canelo would have Caleb Plant on the list of opponents he would want to fight if he didn't have that belt that he wants?
Great question.
Because
I give Canelo a ton of respect for this. He's going after a unification. And Caleb's style is going to give Canelo a lot of problems. Canelo does not like to move. He does not like to box. He does not like that style that Caleb Plant possesses. And that's why I think it'll end up frustrating him so much. He'll start making some critical mistakes. And Caleb's timing is impeccable. It's impeccable. Having had the privilege in this last camp to see him spar and be in camp with him, the guy's timing is impeccable. His eyes are sharp. He looks great. He's strong. He's fast.
I mean, you could argue his style is similar. You know, if you were to compare it to people, it's Floyd and then Lara, even, who most people say
Canelo lost the fight.
Beat Canelo.
And mind you, I will give the Canelo this: is he does get better. He does get better. You know, at his stage and him being, pound for pound king, he's getting better and better and better as he gets along. But this is an entirely different look for him. And you see the size difference?
It's like 4 or 5 inches.
It's 4 or 5 inches of a guy, not just who's the British guy he just fought? Luke Campbell. Luke before Billy Joe. Luke Campbell had a size difference on him, but this is different. Caleb's the bigger man in the ring.
Considerably bigger.
So it'll be interesting. Johnny, who you got in the fight? Caleb all the way. Of course, Caleb all the way.
By decision or knockout?
Johnny.
I went conservative. I just said W.
What are the odds now in Vegas?
A friend told me they were 8-1.
A friend, yeah. A friend of yours.
They've come down a little bit, though. I mean, I'm seeing.
Was it worse?
I'm seeing more and more people, from when I was doing some research, are picking Caleb now. Before, it was, oh, this is crazy, when you're on that podcast or when Mike Tyson was talking about. Now, I mean, you're seeing a lot. Andre Ward, obviously, that's his boy, but, he came out and picked it. I saw a couple people feel that way.
I think the guys that really know boxing are going to go with Caleb Plant. And the guys that know Caleb, I'll tell you what, in camp, of course, his father, Richie, of course, his coach, Justin Gamber, of course, his wife, Jordan Plant, strength and conditioning coach, Larry Wade, publicist, Mario, all of his buddies that are around, everybody that's in camp, his chef, James Lockwood, who's from, Lockhart and Leith, his stretching coach, Vanessa.
I need a stretching coach.
Well, she's a beast.
I'm the least flexible person.
She will whoop your ass. You don't
state.
want to have her stretch you out. Actually, she was working on Dean. She was here in Michigan.
I got a negative on my stretch test in college while playing football. A negative on the stretch test. I mean, I didn't even get to the baseline.
We'll get back to that. Everybody in this camp It's not even a matter of, oh man, he could possibly win it. It's a tough. Everybody is so convinced, and you need to have that in camp. 100% that Caleb Plant is going to win this fight. He's going to shock the world. He's going to be the first ever unified super middleweight champion of the world. And anybody who would come into camp and see it would believe it themselves.
So are you going to the fight this weekend or next weekend?
I am going to the fight. I'll be ringside. Man, in every one of these fights, Dustin, before my fights, I never got nervous. Ever. It was always, if anything, I would always have that fear of not being able to perform at the level that I needed to. But I never had the fear of, I'm fighting in a big guy and a strong guy, a fast guy, because I was always very confident in myself. Every one of my guys that fight, I can't eat all day. My stomach's in knots. Every single time my guys go out there, because I want them to perform so well, and I know they can perform so well, and I just can't wait for them to show what they can do. And that's what really gives me that little bit of a nervous feeling for it. But it's not nervous because I'm not confident in them. I'm nervous because I just want to see them.
Well, I was always told and believe if you're not nervous, it just means you don't care, or it's not important.
I don't know. I think that as you get more and more experienced, I think in the beginning I would agree with that. But as you get more and more experience, you learn how to channel that, and you learn how to divert that. So it's not that I'm not nervous. It's you are, but you know how to channel it. You're nervous for 100%. Certain things. You're not afraid. It's the nervousness and of making sure that you can perform and everything that you've trained up to that you can actually fulfill. But when the champ comes on, we'll be able to talk about some things and see where he stands, what he's doing, and he's breaking camp a little bit here for us, so he'll be joining here shortly. And before the champ joins us here, you remember during the pandemic calls we ran OSP University, 16 weeks when the whole world shut down. OSP Marketing ran a series of 16 weeks of development business courses, and then every Friday we had the winner's mindset. Mm-hmm. Guest number 001, week 1.
Was he number 1?
He was number 1. And you know how I know that? And I never made him a graphic. And the way that it worked was we
introduced everybody a graphic.
I know, but not Caleb. Sorry, champ. So I told we started talking to the team about Caleb, talked about his story, told everybody to watch it, and then I said, sometime we'll have Caleb on, and then he was already on the call, and he goes, hey, why would we wait? Why not just talk about it now? And he hopped right in. It was kind of like a surprise of him being on, but no. That's Caleb, man. He gives back. Yeah. He never asks for anything. He's just, he's one of those guys, and you'll see when he comes on, just a down-to-earth. Actually, you know what, man? I don't know what he's going to be like today. He's 10 days
just
out.
Coming out of camp?
Yeah. Not just that. He's 10 days out from the biggest fight of his life. I mean, from a historic fight. So I'm not sure what kind of Caleb Plant we're going to be talking to today, but I'll tell you, the closer we get to the fight, the more zoned in these guys get. And that's where you want them to be. And joining us, the man himself from Las Vegas, breaking camp, the undefeated super middleweight champion of the world, soon to be, this should be a non-biased show, but I can't help it, soon to be the undisputed first ever unified super middleweight champion in history, Caleb Sweethand Plant. Caleb, looking sharp. How are you, champ?
I'm good. And it's not unified. Unified is 2 belts. Undisputed.
Well, my apologies. And I told you it was going to be a fiery damn interview, didn't I? Coming out.
Already missed.
How you feeling, champ?
Feeling good. Camp's been going great. Everything's on point. Sparring's been going great. You got to show up for some sparring. You seen how it was. So.
I want to say some things that I saw, but I can't say some things that I saw.
Go ahead.
I saw for the first time ever a guy get hit with 2 punches at the same time. He hit him with the.
It's like the Van Damme.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Now, mind you, the first time I was really interested in, I was sold on the Caleb Plant story, but the first time I was really impressed is when you were sparring, a legitimate guy. I don't want to mention his name, and then you guys were in the exchange, and you went around your back and you hit him. And then after he realized that, you went through his legs on the other side. When he turned around, you popped him again. I said, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like I was absolutely, that was the first time I had ever seen something like that before. And remember, Caleb, I told you 6 years ago, 5 years ago, I said, you are the most marketable guy in the sport. And today that testament is true, not because of I said it, but because you truly are. And the world is able to see that now.
Yeah, I'm excited. November 6th. I mean, this is a part of history, you know. It's a big fight. Not only do I think it's the biggest fight of the year, but, you know, when people are tuning in, they're witnessing history. You know, there's never been an undisputed super middleweight. And come November 6th, it'll have its first crown ever, and his name is Caleb Plant.
A lot of people don't know, and Caleb, I know our time here is limited with you. We've got back-to-back training sessions. A lot of people don't know, and you're asked the same questions every single camp. You know, I remember I saw for media day, you know, even Mario addressed everybody, man, don't ask the guy the same questions. What do you think? How's your preparation? What are your predictions? Does Canelo take, you know, special stakes? You know, man, let's talk about something a little bit different in my perspective of being around you and what, you know, before you came on, we talked a little bit about, you know, your backstory and whatnot, and Caleb, I don't know if you remember this. There was one time, remember when we used to do, you know, family nights and we used to go to the movies and yeah. There was a time where, you know, this was before Caleb was making big money. It was when he was, you know, making, you know, he was able just to get by and he'd fight, you know, 2-3 times a year. And so every penny counted. And I remember we went out to dinner and we had the food, you know, with us in the car. And then when we were going to the movies, it would be, you know, dinner, then the movie. There was a lady standing at the corner, and Caleb jumps out of the car, and I'm like, we weren't in a great neighborhood. We were actually going downtown Vegas, if you remember that scary movie that one of us got real scared at. I won't say
Did he commentate through the whole movie?
I can't remember. I'm sure he did.
Yeah. And you gave her the food, and I said, man, that was lunch for tomorrow. And he said, yeah, you know what? But she needs it more than I do. And that resonated to me so much, is that you were always thinking about other people. And a lot of people don't know that side of you, because now they see the tough Caleb Plant, they see the big Caleb Plant, they see this, you know, this guy that talks a lot and fights well, but they don't see that side of Caleb. I think a lot of it comes from your humble beginnings. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, I just think in that moment, you know, knowing what it's like to go without, you know, having a lot of it's come from a little, but, you know, just speaking specifically for myself, you know, remember what it's like to not have or to go without, and just knowing that feeling and how bad it feels, you know, and the times that I have had people step in and help me, and just how much it was just a sigh of relief and a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. You know, I just thought that it was, you know, a good moment to, you know, help somebody out. It wasn't really no thing to me. I mean, it's just something that people should do, at least from time to time. So, yeah, just having that perspective of knowing personally what it feels like, and always being able to think back to that and feel back to that. And, you know, when I'm in a situation where I can do something for somebody, you know, it's not really a big deal or a thing.
A lot of that, I think, comes from, like you said, you know, where you came from. You were telling me a story where, you had to look through garbage cans to find food?
No, I don't think it was that. But there was, you know, there's times where I would, you know, try and save up and, you know, give me and my sister a pizza or a little something
that was
extra,
the story. Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
And you know, stuff like that. So again, you know, just like most fighters, just like most boxers, they come from humble beginnings, and, you know, have had situations where they haven't had a lot, and they've had to work through those moments, and you know, prepare them for the big moments under the lights. And, you know, my story is, you know, in some ways my story is a lot different, but for the most part, you know, it's the same story with me. I mean, just not having a lot, coming from a place that doesn't have a lot, and, you know, making something out of nothing.
I know Dustin's got a couple of questions. I'm sure you remember Dustin. He was riding on the bikes with us in California, in Santa Monica. Before he jumps in here, the press conference, let's just jump to that, because that's what everybody's talking about. Let's just answer the question. Was it or was it not staged?
No, I'm not doing it wasn't staged. I wouldn't do a PR stunt, or I would never tag along for something like that. That's not real. That's not who I am. That's not how I operate. And, you know, I like to think of myself as someone who's genuine, for better or worse. And so I'm never going to do a PR stunt where it's like staged or something like that. That's silly. You know, that's WWE. So everything I said, I meant. And, hopefully everything he said he meant. Otherwise, he's in for something different.
That may be the answer to my question, but I think, this fight, more so than any he's been in, there's a lot of animosity there. Like, I didn't think it was staged, but, I get inside access. But why do you think there is so much animosity between you two leading up to this? Outside of it's for undisputed, first time ever, all the belts. Why do you think he's been different?
I mean, I can't say for sure, but I feel like a lot of these guys they signed to fight him, and they're really just showing up to hand their belt over or take a loss and get their check and just ride off into the sunset. And anytime I'm competing, is never ever going to be like that. I play to win. I'm a competitive person, and anytime I'm playing for all the marbles. To me, everything's on the line. Mm-hmm. So not just this fight, but any fight previous as well. I mean, it's going to be personal for me. I've dedicated my life to this sport. I've sacrificed a lot. Anybody who knows my story, I mean, this means everything to me. Boxing means everything to me. And get my name etched in those history books means everything to me. I'm not here for the PR stuff. I'm not here to get more followers on Instagram. I want to win, and I want those belts. And when I say I want it, I mean I'm coming to get those belts. So, again, in past fights, it's going to be personal because there's a lot. If you stand in the way of what I'm trying to obtain and reach, it's a personal thing for me. So,
sure. Caleb, another personal story. We went to the escape room. Remember that escape room that we went to with KSI was there? Yeah. And I remember you got so pissed after because we all died in the escape room and we didn't get out of the escape room, and you put your finger in my chest and you go, "We're going to come back here and we're going to beat this thing." And I'm like, "Calm down. It's a game." There's no reason for you to get all upset over it. And you're like, no, we got to come back. We're going to bring JP back, and we're going to beat this thing. We got to come back next week. Can we come back next week? And I thought, man, that same fire is that fire that he carries in everything that he does. It's just that will to win and refuse to lose. Not that you can't lose, you won't lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how I was raised. Obviously, Amir, my dad, and you'd probably have to know my dad to understand how I am and why I am. But sure. Again, like I said, anytime I'm playing for anything, I mean, I'm playing for all the marbles and I'm playing to win. Matter of fact, I'm not playing. So, I mean, I'm not playing. I want to win, and I am a sore loser. I don't take losing well. I don't like to lose. I never have, and I never will. It's just not in my DNA. It's not how I was raised. And so when I'm playing for everything, regardless of what it is. I want to win. I don't like to lose. So it's just how it's always been for me.
We have the pleasure also of representing Coach Larry Wade, and Wade's like he's the only guy that pushes me. He's the only one of my fighters that I have to tell stop. I'll tell him how many. He'll tell me how many rounds we're doing today, and I'll say we're doing 10. He goes, okay, I'm going to do 12. Caleb, yeah. I said it before. I said it to you. I've said it publicly. I'm going to say it again. This is going to be the biggest upset in the history of boxing because nobody thinks you can pull this off. I firmly believe, wholeheartedly believe, and if I was a betting man, would bet the entire house on this being the best night of our lives, God willing.
Absolutely. And, just the things that you said pertaining to Coach Wade, I mean, I think it's impossible to become great at anything by only doing what's asked of you, regardless of, in training, if you're always only doing what's asked of you, I mean, there's no way to ever reach the pinnacle of anything. So whatever it is that they ask from me, I always try to give them an extra round. I always try to give them one more, regardless of what it is, I always want to try to strive to just give them a little bit more. Not because it's not giving it to them, it's giving it to me. So, anytime you take shortcuts, you're not hurting anybody but yourself. So I always try to go above and beyond on what's asked of me, whether it's at strength and conditioning, on the track, in my miles, at the boxing gym. Regardless, I'm going to always try and put my best foot forward and give more than what's asked of me. And, after doing that for so many years, you're going to set yourself apart and ahead of the rest of the competition. So.
Trying not to ask things that you get asked every day by everybody, and such a big fight. I mean, this really is, I think, one of the most anticipated fights in a long time for many reasons. With all that goes with that, what do you do, to get away when you got some downtime? What does Caleb plan to do in the downtime to get your mind away from things or just kick back?
Well, in camp, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I don't really, other fighters, they like to, or even, speaking about, my opponent, I guess he likes to golf and, stuff like that. I don't really like to do too much else besides train and go home. And year round, 85% of my year is the same thing. I train and I go home. I don't really go out a whole lot. I don't do too much. I know Amir spoke on us, doing the escape room and stuff like that. But for the most part, year round, I'm training and going home. I play video games here and there. And
when you say,
that's about it.
What do you tell those kids on the video game?
I can only imagine. How sore of a loser are you when a 12-year-old kid beats you on a video game?
Man.
What do
I
you
cut
say?
them out.
Look me up. Look me up. Go ahead and look me up.
I swear I say that. Google me, motherfucker. You know who I am? Boy, I'll get into straight up arguments sometimes with those kids, but it is what it is. I beat their ass in real life, so it's what.
I remember when we were in the car in Los Angeles, and Amir, sometimes he takes a wrong turn because he's always on the phone, driving, doing an interview at the same time, hosting.
Yeah.
And we were stuck, and there were cars behind us honking, and you two were cracking me up because you guys are like, they just don't know who's inside this car if they really wanted to do that.
Yeah, let's call her and break that bitch's neck. That's what Amir said.
And I was just laughing because I'm sitting there like, we've all just laid on the horn on somebody like, I'm about to get out of this car. Like, just imagine.
Very bad day for that gentleman.
That'd be bad for sure. But it's weird because people don't do that back home in Tennessee. People don't honk like that. Like, if you honk at somebody like that, you're definitely looking to get in a fight or like create some type of major disturbance. So it's like out here on the West Coast or like in New York, it's like people just do that, but people don't do that back home. So it's just like
the home's Tennessee, right? The South, Southern hospitality.
Yeah, exactly. I was even telling my dad out here, like, when you get on the interstate and there's like a red light and then it switches to green, switches to red, so people can like determine who's getting on the interstate next. Like, there is none of that back home because somebody will just let you over. But people are such assholes out here. You actually got to have a light that determines who's next on the interstate.
That's
You're
crazy.
absolutely right. No, you do.
Over. It's crazy.
Yeah, you have different lanes, and then they'll say green light, red light, green light, red light, and everybody has to go so that they can stagger them. Because if not, you're going to have an accident right there on that funnel.
Every time I hear red light, green light now, I think of Squid Games.
Oh, Champ, you been watching that?
Yeah, I watched it.
He's
you
late
like
to
it
the
or you
party.
don't like it?
I missed like the last 30 minutes of the last couple minutes of the last episode. So
You mean you missed the best part of the whole thing?
No.
I heard it's the worst part.
Yeah, I didn't.
Wait a
I
second.
didn't like the
wait,
ending
hang
either.
on. Can we talk about it? Can you put like some Johnny? Can you put like some spoilers stuff on? So what happened? He went. The guy. So the old man was the king.
Have you watched it yet?
Yeah, man, it was garbage. Straight garbage.
I thought you would love it.
I
just
did up
getting
until like
offed.
it was just like the same stuff over and over again, and I couldn't stand some of the actors. Like I really wanted just to beat the shit out of some of them.
It's voiceover.
No, that girl, the one that slept with the guy, she was like too like I would have thrown her off the bridge.
Yeah, she was irritating.
Well, you saw like LeBron.
Way too much.
LeBron came out talking crap about the ending, and the director or whatever called LeBron out. Was like, well, you created Space Jam too.
Right.
first of
Yeah,
all.
I saw that. Caleb, the fight is less than 2 weeks away. By the time this airs, it'll be less than 1 week away. For those that don't know, what's going to happen fight week? What happens for Caleb Plant fight weeks? Where are you? What do you end up doing? I mean, what's different from training camp to actual fight week? How do you change? How do you kind of get into that zone where it just kind of trickles down into 7, 6, 5, 3 weigh-ins?
I feel like it'd be hard for me to get much more focused than I already am throughout camp. But I mean, as we get closer, I start to zone in more. I'm probably even more distant and, quiet than I usually am, which is,
right.
Quite a bit. So just staying focused and staying locked in, staying relaxed, staying calm, and just remembering the job that I got to do and remembering what got me here, remembering why I'm here. And, I feel like a lot of fighters, when they step up in competition and they're facing somebody maybe that they're the underdog against, they don't believe that they're supposed to win. They don't believe this their destiny. But I, honestly, in my heart, feel like that this is me stepping in and fulfilling my destiny. I feel like I deserve to win. I know that I belong on this level. And, you know, all that sounds good, but I can show you better than I can tell you. So November 6th, Showtime pay-per-view. I'm encouraging everybody to tune in. Like I said, that not only is this the biggest fight of the year, but this is literally boxing history because there's never been an undisputed super middleweight. And come November 6th, there will be, and you're looking at them.
I love it. Champ, thank you for taking the time out of your day, out of training camp. I know it's a long day for you, and being this close, I appreciate it very much. Please send my love to Jordan. I'll see you guys back in Vegas next week. The whole OSP team is rooting for you. All of our subscribers are rooting for you. We're going to shock the world, God willing, November 6th. And we're going to have, like you said, undisputed, unified, history-making champion, Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. Champ, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Peace. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you too. All right, guys, we're signing off here. Episode 11 with the one and only Caleb Sweet Hands.
Neck.
And there is the outro. Signing off. Las Vegas, Caleb Plant, Dearborn, Michigan, OSP signing off. My team, my family, my OSP, and we're out.